All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going back in time to the year 2007, and we're going to unbox an Omega reference 223650. This is a mid-sized Seamaster. But before we go into the box here, I just wanted to thank everybody for the support that I got on my most recent upload. It hit 10,000, over 10,000 views in under a week. By far my most successful video I've ever uploaded, so I really appreciate all the support there. I know everybody enjoyed seeing the 2024 watch collection. Of the 10,000 viewers, only 3% of you are subscribed, so I am going to take this moment to ask you to consider subscribing if you like this kind of content. But past that, let's go ahead and unbox this Omega. So of course, this is again the 223650, and I think it's kind of a treat to take a look at some of these older Omegas and the way that they were packaged. Not a lot of online used Omegas come with boxes anymore, so we don't get to see these kind of things every day. So let's document it here, take a look at what we got. This is the Omega box. It comes in with this really cool global logo. This is quite a bit smaller than the boxes that you get today. The more modern Omega boxes are like kind of this wood type look. I don't know if it's real wood, I assume it's not, but back in the day they used this like red leather, which doesn't appear to be aging very well. And then of course we've got the cards and user manuals here. So we got the international warranty with the date of April 29th, 2007, and this is the reference and chronometer certificate here. On this card, it shows a couple of interesting things about this watch in particular. 300 meter water resistance, helium escape valve, 18 karat gold, which we'll talk about in a minute, automatic caliber, so on and so forth. And of course the caliber is the 1120, which is an ETA reference. The operating instructions is generic, went for every watch, so I'm not going to go ahead and open that. It seems kind of irrelevant there, but let's go ahead and open up this box and we'll see our first look here at the watch in reference. I've even got the tag on it just to show you for the sake of the video. We have a solid 18 karat gold bezel insert, which is quite unique for this kind of watch. Pulling the watch out, I've got some extra links there at the bottom, and then we'll go ahead and set the box aside and take a look at what we've got here. So pull it off the pillow here. And let me get this tag off. All right. And yeah, for some reason, the early 2000s and late 90s boxes all seem to be degrading. This is just sitting in my closet, has been for quite some time. I assume that the previous owner had it just sitting around as well, but this material just ages very poorly for some reason. I can see why they went away from it. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this here. This is the mid-size Seamaster 223650. You can see a couple different features that you don't typically see on Seamasters of this era. My favorite right away is the applied indexes, or indices, as well as the applied Omega logo and text there at the 12 o'clock position. Chronometer grade movement with that classic wave dial. Of course, the 18 karat gold bezel insert is just absolutely stunning. Very yacht-master-esque. I think this is one of the only references from this era that has a solid, precious metal bezel from Omega. And you see that way more often with the Yacht-Master, of course. Classic Peter Blake looks to it. There was a very similar watch to this one that came out around this, the early 2000s that said America's Cup on the dial. That watch is actually slightly different. It did have a white gold bezel insert. It did not have applied indexes that I'm aware of. And of course, the text that you see here was absent. It only said America's Cup. And then on the back, it said things like, limited edition and 1 of 10,000, and America's Cup, chronometer grade, and so on and so forth. But this watch is special, mostly because of those applied indexes, in my opinion. It just adds another level of class to this watch that you don't see on others. And in fact, I'll pull some of my other references here. This is my mid-size Peter Blake, and you can see what typically comes standard on these mid-size Omegas from that era We do not have applied indexes. In fact, we have just like the standard Lume plots that are put on there. And then of course we have a aluminum bezel insert instead of precious metal. Other than that, there's a lot of similarities. The bracelet is very similar, in fact, if not identical. The America's Cup version that I was referencing comes on a more traditional Seamaster bracelet like you would find on this one. So this is the standard Seamaster bracelet, kind of the most famous one, versus this more like almost Speedmaster type bracelet that you have here on the 223650. So just some quick differences here between these two. The indexes where the Lume's applied, of course, are not actually applied the way that they are on this 2236, and they actually are a different shape altogether. This is more standard for Seamasters across all their ranges. Their hands are skeletonized versus the sword hands that we have here. You know, I don't necessarily like one more than the other. It's definitely a point of opinion. I tend to own more sword hands, so read into that what you will. I think they're also more legible on this watch against that black dial. The sword hands are a little bit easier to read, and even if not a bit more accurate, because they go all the way to that minute track at the end there. Whereas on this skeletonized version, just slightly less legible, in my opinion. I also tend to prefer the triangle at 12, which is just a more classic Seamaster reference over the 2 at the 12 there. One of my favorite features about all these Peter Blakes is just the wide area of Lume that's applied. These watches are absolutely incredible when you have the lights off and the Lume pops up. So we'll go ahead and pull the torch out and I'll show you what I mean. All right, we're gonna do a quick Lume check here. You can see what I mean about how bright the Lume is on this one. We'll compare it to the standard Seamaster. Both have excellent Lume. I tend to prefer the legibility of this one. You can see on the hands alone how much more Lume there is versus the skeletonized hands where you basically only have it at the tips. But yeah, let's move on. Let's go ahead and throw it on wrist and I'll show you how that wears on me. Today I'm wearing my Seamaster Reduced. This is my Schumacher Ferrari Red. Another Neo Vintage Omega. I tend to prefer 90s and 2000s Omegas. One of the best clasps in the industry, especially from this era. Definitely beats any of the stamped clasps that Rolex had on the Yacht-master at the time. This watch just wears fantastic. I'll zoom out a little bit as well so you can see it. This watch is incredible. I have a 17 centimeter wrist, which is just above 6.5 inches. And I think this watch wears perfectly on me. Love the twisting lugs here. We got the male end links here that pop out that give it a little bit more length overall, but still wears really nicely on any wrist this size. I think you could even have, you know, a wrist as small as like 14 centimeters and still pull off a mid-size Seamaster like this. So what do you think? Should I keep this watch because it wears so fantastic? Should I sell it and get the 41 millimeter version? I'm not sure. But man, this is quite the watch. Both gorgeous watches. I definitely love wearing both of them. I don't see myself keeping this one too much longer, unfortunately. I just don't find myself wanting to wear it as often. Of course, when you have, you know, all three of the Neo Vintage mid-size Seamasters, you're gonna wear one more than the other two, I guess. These two are the ones that I typically wear most often. And I'm finding myself wanting to get the larger 41 millimeter of the Peter Blake, and maybe this one as well. Time will tell. But this one just sits in the box for the most part, so I do think I am going to end up selling this one. It is a beautiful watch, and every time I pull it out of the box and look at it, I change my mind and I decide I want to keep it. But you tell me, what do you think about this watch? Do you think this is something that they should bring back today? I think personally, you know, this is pre-coaxial, so it's got a little bit different dimensions and things like that. But if they brought back this exact design today in 2025, it would sell like crazy, in my opinion. The wave dial, the sword hands, the, you know, precious metal insert, the more traditional bracelet. I really do think this is a classic Seamaster that will probably get more desirable over time. This one is a little bit harder to find in the full size from what I've seen. The America's Cup version is definitely more popular and more common. But these tend to sell fairly quickly when they do pop up. I do think this is a watch style that will potentially appreciate over time. Of course, not watches are not investments, but if I was going to pick a watch from Omega that will appreciate over time, it would be any of the Peter Blakes, especially the 41 millimeter version of this watch. So with that, that's all I've got for today. Let me know what you think about this watch, and I'll see you in the next one.